Our family bought our homestead This is not about you. Our family bought our homestead in the fall of the year. That following winter, we fantasized about the gardens we would have come spring. We started planting seeds early in January and February indoors, with the intentions, of course, being to transfer them outdoors after the last frost, which we did. That first year, our gardening efforts ended up in complete disaster and failure. The problem was not a lack of rain. Wait! The problem we ran into was the wildlife. We found that there were so many critters outdoors that would eat anything we attempted to grow as quickly as we attempted to grow it. So what we did after a very unsuccessful first year of gardening is we regrouped the following winter. We decided we would invest in wiring, fencing, fence posts, the tools needed to install such things, the fences around our property, to make specific gardening spots, hopefully being able to keep the critters out. And guess what? It worked. The following year, our second year here on the homestead, as you can see behind me, potentially as you can see behind me, we fenced in several different gardening spots. There's one there, there's one out of sight here back to my 7 o'clock. I hope you're getting my 6. And we were successful in year number 2 with growing these vegetables. So we thought, hey, we figured this out. Year number 3 will be just as successful. However, year number 3, which was last year, ended again in disaster. Here's why. The preceding fall, as the Bigfoot Sasquatch type creatures were migrating south for the winter, coming down through this part of the Blue Ridge Mountains from Canada, the northeastern U.S., heading down to the extreme southeast of the U.S., perhaps Florida, Louisiana, where they'd go spend their winter and get called such nasty things as skunk apes and whatnot. Well, a few of them decided to stop. When they came through here, my family and I would be outside tending to our gardens, cutting, hauling, splitting, stacking firewood, playing ball in our fields, camping up at our campground. They stuck around. They stuck around through winter. In the following spring, when we expected them to leave, going back up north, up into New England and Canada, they didn't. They stayed. So what happened is when we planted our gardens that spring, guess what? Guess who took our food that year, which was last year? Guess who took our chickens, okay? It wasn't the raccoons and the possums and the squirrels. Potentially, it was Bigfoot Sasquatch. So what have we done? Now that we're going into year number 4, we had fail garden, success garden, fail garden. We want to have success this year with our gardens. So we have racked our brains this winter, and we have come up with the latest, new, most advanced Bigfoot Sasquatch gardening techniques that will revolutionize home gardening this year. If you don't believe it, try it yourself. In this video, I will explain to you exactly how this technique works. And if you think this is a joke, you are thinking incorrectly. Just this morning, I put in an order for 22,000 non-GMO, gluten-free heirloom seeds. that should arrive to my home this week, because we're getting started. 22,000. Okay. I asked you earlier, where are my gardening spots? In the past, they've been in the fenced-in areas. But now, I used my crayons and I made a diagram to show you exactly where they are. They are all over. This is how you must plot out your Bigfoot Sasquatch garden. And I'm going to tell you why, okay? This map shows about 4 acres of our 6 acres. See, we've got our pond, our driveway, we've got our house, our building, our woodshed. This is garden number 1 in the nursery behind me, just right here. And then we've got garden number 2, which is over here, back this way. Okay, we've got our campground up here, which is way up there. And then where you see all the purple Bigfoot Sasquatch tracks, I'm really trying to get myself into using my tools instead of my hands. This is better for your back if you let the tools do the work. So where you see all of the purple potential Bigfoot Sasquatch tracks, this is primarily where we will be doing our potential Bigfoot Sasquatch gardening. This is what calls for 22,000 seeds, which will be planted. Now, with no further ado, let's head up there into the potential Bigfoot Sasquatch territory, and I will explain to you specifically the philosophy and the acts behind Bigfoot Sasquatch gardening. Now that we are in their territory, we respectfully let them know we are here. Though I have reason to believe they already do know. But nonetheless, to show that we're being respectful, behind me, you see a meadow that we're allowing to reforest naturally. For many years, it was used as a hayfield, but now it's not. You see further back behind the meadow, a tree line. In which, at times while we've been gardening, potentially Bigfoot Sasquatch has hidden and watched our activities. Again, we would put forth the effort, the labor, the time to plant and care for, grow and raise these vegetables to the point of being ripe, and just before we would eat them, him, her, it, or they would beat us to it, come down under the cover of darkness at night, and take and eat our vegetables, and at times some of our chickens. So here is how the latest, new, most advanced Bigfoot Sasquatch gardening technique, revolutionizing home gardening, works. Knowing what we know about what's going on here, potentially, with these creatures living in the forest behind our home, we are going to utilize this dead space, so to say, in that we are going to create a buffering layer of vegetables for our vegetables, while him, her, it, or they sit up here in the tree line, or stand or hide in the treetops and watch us in anticipation of those ripe, vegetable-ishy tasting vegetables getting ripe and then coming down and eating them. They will also see this year that we will be planting vegetables here, 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 here. Hey guys, I took the camera off the tripod to continue to explain this the theory behind this gardening method, because I thought I saw something back there, and I just want to be mobile. I want to be able to move if I need to move. But basically, here's where we are on the map. Right here. Okay, this is back here. So the whole point of this is that while potentially Bigfoot Sasquatch hides out in the tree line up there watching our activities in the garden, he, she, it, or they will also see our activities up here planting vegetables, and it's our intentions and our hope that they, being the curiosity seekers that they are, they will also come down to inspect these vegetable plots that will be planted here, 22,000 seeds worth of vegetables, okay? And they will realize what we're doing for them. Now guys, they know, you know, or we know that you cannot negotiate with terrorists. These are not terrorists. These are living, breathing creatures that are here on our property, that have been here in the world much longer than us. And so instead of trying to run them off, we're trying to figure out ways to live with them in harmony, like the white piano keys and the black piano keys on a keyboard. Oh Lord, why can't we being us human people and Bigfoot Sasquatch, do the same? Hence this gardening. Alright, let's go visit another area as I further explain this technique. Behind me, you can see our humble home. You can also see some barren trunks and limbs of some sourwood saplings. These trees were not here when we bought our property, but they are the fastest growing hardwood on the east coast of the United States. And so, only 3 years into growth, they're about 10 or 12 feet tall. You can't tell so much right now because their leaves are off as they're dormant, but they have grown in such a way that him, her, it, or they, the potential Bigfoot Sasquatch creatures, have hollowed out a resting area inside these trees so that on a hot summer day, they can come inside where these trees are in the center and enjoy the shade and watch our family as we go about our farming, gardening, homesteading, daily lives routines, whatever the case may be. They like to lie here and watch, again, fantasizing about those ripe, juicy, vegetable-ishy tasting, ripe, juicy vegetables, and then they go take them before we do. So what we're doing this year with this new, greatest, latest, technologically Bigfoot Sasquatch gardening technique is we are going to be planting snow peas, green beans, and cucumbers at the base of these trees, so that when he, she, it, or they are lounging on a hot summer day, just like finger foods, they can pluck some snow peas, they can pluck some green beans, they can sit here and they can eat, hopefully receiving a message. Potential Bigfoot Sasquatch, don't come into our fenced off gardens and eat our vegetables. We have provided vegetables aplenty, in ample amount, in sundry varieties for you to munch on and enjoy while you watch us munching on and enjoying our vegetables. We want to live in harmony with you. So instead of trying to run you off with boomsticks or with religiously spiritualistic, shamanistic practices to rid you of our land, we welcome you, and we are giving you these vegetables and these fruits. All we ask in return is that you allow us to keep ours that we put inside our fenced off garden areas. Behind me now, you can see our various piles of firewood, and then you see the top of a fence post here. We also have our second fenced off garden here on the other side of the firewood. This is going to be a very busy location for us this year as we implement these new gardening techniques, because this is a major hot spot for him, her, it, or they. They like to hide behind the wood piles and watch our family, especially at night. And in years past, last year, the year we had such a problem with them, they would simply take one step up onto the wood piles, jump into the garden, and eat everything we had. So what we intend to do this year as part of this new fantabulous Bigfoot Sasquatch gardening technique that is revolutionizing home gardening around the universe for anybody that participates in these new techniques. We're going to be planting a lot of corn out here, with the hopes being, number one, of course, comfort. It's all about increasing their quality of life. So when they're down here at night, hiding behind the wood piles, committing their acts of voyeurism upon our family, they can simply reach over and grab a luscious ear of super sweet corn and munch on it and enjoy its sweet flavor while him, her, it, or they enjoy their show. And again, also, we're trying to send the message without being able to communicate with them verbally. This your corn, that our corn. This corn, eat. That corn, no eat. These are our hopes. We believe these goals will be accomplished. So at this point, I know what you're saying. You're saying, wow, this great, hot, new Bigfoot Sasquatch gardening technique that is going to revolutionize the entire universe as far as home gardening goes for anybody that tries it. Sounds like such a great idea. I want to try it myself. However, I'm not so sure I have a bunch of Bigfoot Sasquatch living in the woods behind my home. How do I find out? It's not as hard as you'd think. Here's an idea I recommend. Gifting. Now, you've got to be careful what you gift, and you've really got to consider the pros and the cons of gifting. It's been said that once you start, you can't stop because he, she, it, or they may retaliate. We don't know this to be true or not because we've not stopped once we started. Now, what do you gift and where do you gift? Look around your property, most likely around the edges of your property where he, she, it, or they can easily hide and conceal themselves, and look for such signs of their existence as X's, such as the one behind me, tree bends, large prints, large piles of dung, so on and so forth, strange hairs that can't be identified. Should you find or should you not find any of this evidence, go ahead and place out a gift, as I've done with seashells at the center of the X behind me. We use seashells because wildlife don't eat seashells. In the past, we've gifted apples, we've gifted walnuts, we've seen them eaten and carried away to strange locations, but arguably squirrels could have taken the nuts, deer could have eaten the apples, as could have bears, raccoons, anything else. We've found that when our seashells go missing, which they have, that's a little harder to explain because I don't know of any animal that eats seashells. So, that's how we do it. You may want to try it yourself. And if you do find evidence of potentially Bigfoot Sasquatch being in your area and you want to have more success with protecting your vegetables, not just from the deer, not just the raccoons, not just from the rabbits, because it's not just these things, these common ordinary critters that are eating your vegetables, you too might want to try the new, latest, hot, boom, Bigfoot Sasquatch gardening technique that's revolutionizing home gardening all around the world and the universe, anywhere where it's attempted.